Hey everybody, welcome back to Inside the Force. This is episode 359, and this is going to be a really jam-packed episode. Of course, Star Wars Celebration just happened this past weekend. Got a lot to talk about there. And then I thought I was going to just be talking about the first two episodes of Obi-Wan, but the third episode just dropped today. So this is Wednesday. I'm going to be talking about all three episodes of Obi-Wan. Phenomenal. So, of course, this is going to be released early on to Patreon first. So thank you to my patrons on Patreon. And then, of course, this episode will drop probably on Friday to the public. So, by that time, I hope everybody has seen all three episodes. I won't give too much away. I'll just talk about what's pretty much out there right now, so obviously won't spoil too much, but I do want to talk about them a lot because it's out there now and it's incredible. So a lot to talk about. But again, thanks to my patrons. If you're interested in supporting the show, patreon.com/InsideTheForce. You can go there. Of course, if you don't want to do that, no big deal, but please ask you to maybe go to YouTube and subscribe there. We're on all the podcast feeds. Subscribe anywhere you can get the show. And we're putting out stuff weekly. Definitely one show a week, at least, but we're also doing other shows that we do a video on YouTube as well as podcast feed. So, but then we also have Patreon exclusive content. So get on there and sign up, and we're about to drop a lot more stuff on there in the next couple of months. So thank you everybody for the support. Really, really appreciate it. All right, let's talk about Star Wars Celebration. Still so bummed that I couldn't make it out there. This was the first celebration in, I think I said the last seven celebrations that I missed. I started going to them in Celebration 3 in 2005 when Episode 3 was coming out. So they had Celebration 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then they had in Orlando and Anaheim. I think they went back to Orlando and then Chicago. So actually, I think maybe 8 of them. Could have been 8 of them. Something like that. Or maybe it was 7. But anyway, Celebration. I can't believe I didn't get to go, but lots of great stuff, and they do a good job with the Celebration live stage now, so you can see a lot of interviews and get caught up on what you missed. So I watched pretty much all of those, skimmed through a lot of it, but watched most of those. Of course, was really paying attention to the panels and following Twitter and getting the live updates. So let's deep dive into that right now. Start with day one. Day one had which was Thursday. The big panel on that day was the live action panel that pretty much kicked off Celebration. And of course you had Filoni and Favreau kind of leading that charge out there. One of the first things they talked about was season 3 of Mando. They brought Katie Sackhoff out there, so she's going to be a big part of season 3, along with, which I'll get to that more in the Mando panel that happened on Saturday. But Thursday, the one thing I want to get to, thing about Mando, that Katie Sackhoff came out and then they announced that it was coming in February 2023. I believe they showed some footage of it. But the big thing is they talked about Andor, and Andor got released. A couple things: a poster, a new kind of logo for Andor, and then the teaser trailer. Now, flat out, got to tell you that the teaser trailer was ridiculous. I loved it, and made me more excited. To be honest, I was pretty excited for it. More excited for Obi-Wan than anything, but Andor looks really good, really good. And I'm more interested. You're going to hear me mention this probably 100 times, and I've already mentioned it, I think, before, but I am actually probably more interested in Mon Mothma's storyline on that show than I am Andor's. I think Andor is going to have an interesting, storyline and have some great scenes, being a spy and seeing how he recruits new rebels and whatnot. But I think Mothma's story within the Senate and fighting on the political side, that's something we just haven't seen yet in this time period between episodes 3 and 4. And I've always wondered, how she gained so much respect and how she became such this massive leader that everybody's listening to and following without any question. I know it was a group of them that kind of started this thing with Bail and Padme, a couple of those other senators from episode 3, but they haven't formed the alliance yet. The alliance doesn't get formed till a couple years before episode 4. But there's a lot of rebel cells out there. There's a lot of people helping each other, as we're kind of learning in Obi-Wan as well. But I think her story is just incredible and such a mystery. I'm really, really, really interested in her. I think Genevieve O'Reilly is phenomenal as Mon Mothma. I think she looks the part. She plays her really well. It matches completely well with that one scene we got from Mon Mothma in Return of the Jedi. So I am stoked to see that show. I truly am. I hope they do bring back Ian McDiarmid, which I kind of feel like they will. It'd be great to see the Emperor and Mothma in the same scene together. I mean, that is because, we're kind of under the impression, based on some comics and some inside stories, it's like that Palpatine kind of stayed away from everything. He tried to stay hidden. He just stayed in his tower and kind of let the Senate, and Mas Amedda just kind of run things. But it's just curious. It's just always been curious to me that him being the Emperor and, basically ruling the galaxy, that he would even entertain still having a Senate. And it took him 19 years until episode 4 to actually dissolve it. So it's just really interesting, that story. I don't know. I'm actually really pumped for Andor. I'm still really enjoying Obi-Wan and probably going to rewatch that thing over and over again a lot up until Andor. But, Andor's coming out August 31st, so only 3 months away. Actually, 2 months away. 2.5 months, I guess. It's the beginning of June right now, so it's going to be upon us soon. Obi-Wan wraps at the end of June, so basically we'll have 2 months to get ready for Andor, get more, see more trailers and stuff like that, more TV spots. But Andor looks really, really good. I really like that. They're already talking about season 2, 12 episodes of season 1, going to be 12 episodes of season 2. Rumors are there's going to be a season 3, and that's going to be the end, but we'll see. But man, it looks good. Looks really good. Do I dare say we start? I think I might start the. How do I say it? How do I hashtag this? Restore the Mothma scenes in episode 3. Could that be a thing? Because I think those scenes are important. I think those things it's the early discussions of the rebellion. And, Jimmy Smith's Bail Organa's in it. Padme, you can never get enough Padme. And then, of course, Mon Mothma. So restore the Mothma scenes. I might actually try to start that thing here soon. So be on the lookout for that. So next, besides Andor, the big thing was Ahsoka. They talked about Ahsoka coming in 2023. Rosario Dawson stopped by, got a break from filming, and showed up. So to be honest, did she show up? I'm not sure she showed up. No, I don't think she showed up for this day. I think she came on Saturday. So, but they announced Ahsoka coming in 2023. They were 3 weeks in the shooting at that point when Celebration happened. So they're working on a lot there. And then the surprise thing, they kind of went through a couple other non-Star Wars related projects. They showed Willow and a trailer there, and then fantastic John Williams came out and played. And of course, then he started playing the Indiana Jones theme, and Harrison came out, and they talked about Indy 5 that's coming out next year. So pretty cool stuff. But they did announce, as in Favreau and Filoni did announce another Star Wars series called Skeleton Crew, and that is going to star Jude Law and come out next year, 2023 as well. Very interesting. Never heard anything like that. That was been pretty under wraps, I feel like. There's been rumors about other shows getting created or shot or made or something like that, but this one I think kind of flew under the radar. So Skeleton Crew will be out next year, 2023. So that was it on the panel. And then the only other thing that day that was, I think, worth really noting is there was a High Republic panel, and they talked a ton about Phase 2. They announced a bunch of upcoming books and comics and new authors and stuff like that. So you can go check that out if you want on StarWars.com. But High Republic's is entering Phase 2. And they've got all kinds of content coming out there. So that's taking the next stage if you're following High Republic. Lots of stuff there. And if I remember reading early on that some of this time period actually takes place even before Phase 1. Like we're even going back even further in some parts. So that's pretty interesting. So I'll get there eventually. I'm still working my way through Phase 1, but me and Hannah are doing those to keep you up to date on that. All right, so that was day 1. And then now we got day 2, which, let's see, one of the things they announced was a Disney Plus series coming out called Light and Magic. Talks about the first, early stages of Industrial Light Magic, ILM. That's coming to Disney Plus. I believe it's created by Ron Howard. He was up there talking about it. There was a Lego panel. Lego Star Wars Summer Vacation is coming out. That's a new kind of special that's coming out on Disney Plus this summer. The announcement of Jedi Survivor, the next game, the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order. So Star Wars Jedi Survivor is coming out. They released a little teaser for that, just contained CG footage, not gameplay footage. But looks awesome. And unfortunately, what I read about this afterwards, I guess somehow it got announced that this game is only going to be available on the newest game consoles. So PS5 and Xbox Series X, I think. Meaning that PS4s and Xbox One, which is what I have, an Xbox One, will not be available on those consoles. Could be wrong about that, but that's what I read. But it's coming out next year, 2023. No release date yet, just a year. But you better believe I'll be buying a new console, I guess, if I want to play this game. Jedi Fallen Order was fantastic. And so Jedi Fallen Order also took place 5 years after Revenge of the Sith, Episode 3. This actually takes place 5 years after Fallen Order. So 10 years after Revenge of the Sith, meaning that it's actually running parallel to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Interesting, because, of course, there's been rumors that possibly there's a crossover with Fallen Order franchise with Obi-Wan. I don't see how. Well, I guess could get a Cal Kestis cameo. That would be, Cal Kestis is played by Cameron Monaghan, who they use his likeness, so it actually would be easy for them if they had him do a cameo. But we'll see. I think that would be just a fan service thing. I'm not sure. Well, it could work, I guess, the way the Obi-Wan storyline's going. So I'll talk about that here in a little bit. But yeah, the teaser's out there. Go check that out. Star Wars Jedi Survivor. They also had a 20th anniversary panel for Attack of the Clones, which was pretty cool. Hosted by, or moderated by Ashley Eckstein, who voices Ahsoka Tano in the Clone Wars and Rebels. And, the cool part about that panel was Tamara Morrison was on it, Daniel Logan, of course, Anthony Daniels was there. But they, kind of in the middle of it, they announced, Ashley said something like, it'd be cool if, Ewan and Hayden were here. And of course they walked out. So it was really the best part about it, to be honest, was seeing Ashley, Hayden, and Ewan sitting up there next to each other. So you had Ahsoka, Anakin, and Obi-Wan together again, which was pretty cool. I saw a lot of pictures out on Twitter about that. That was pretty cool. So the 20th anniversary panel was there. I think you can watch the whole thing on StarWars.com. Another series that got announced, a Young Jedi Adventures series. Now this one, I think, is your kind of younger audience. Not sure how the animation looks or anything like that. They just showed the logo. I never saw anything that showed any of the actual footage. But animated series about young Jedis. So not sure exactly who's in that or what that's about, but that is coming soon. And then there was a comics panel, which I will kind of talk about the highlights from that, which is interesting. Marvel, they announced a Yoda series, fantastic, which comes out in October. So Yoda's having his own series. Looks like it's going to be set before. It says each arc will find Yoda reflecting on his past. So issues 1 through 3 will be the days of the High Republic. 4 through 6 will be a few decades before Phantom Menace. So there you go. Han Solo and Chewbacca will continue. Dr. Aphra talks about future Dr. Aphra issues could have broad implications. A lot happening there. You've got the Star Wars comic still continuing its run taking place between Empire and Jedi. So they've got a landmark issue coming out saying that this summer with issue 25, Star Wars 25, that marks Charles Soule's 100th Star Wars comic. The guy's been writing a ton of comics over the last few years, so probably my favorite writer right now, comic writer. Then you got Star Wars Bounty Hunter still continuing. You got The Mandalorian, which is just kind of season 1. in comic book form. And then Star Wars Obi-Wan continues, which is pretty cool. It's taking place like during phases of his life throughout. There's an issue. The fight with Maul in Tatooine is in there, which is pretty neat. And then Star Wars Visions, which I'll mention here also in a second, is actually also continuing in comic book form. So there you go. Lots of comic news there that came out of Celebration. Can't wait for that Yoda series. My favorite character, so definitely going to check that out. All right, so day 3 saw basically they call it the Mando Plus panel. Of course, Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, part of that panel. And then they brought out pretty much, I think, the entire, what was going to be the main cast of season 3. So, of course, Pedro Pascal came out. Carl Weathers, Emily Swallow, who plays the armorer. You also had Pedro's stuntmen, 2 of them. And then they brought out Rick Famuyiwa, who is now an executive producer of the show. So he's the one of the additional executive producers on season 3. They brought out Katie Sackhoff, brought out Giancarlo Esposito. So, so he's back. No sign of. Actually, I think they brought out Tamora Morrison, but that was for the Book of Boba Fett because they were kind of talking about Book of Boba Fett, I think. But Fennec, unfortunately, I'm pretty sure they probably would have brought out Ming-Na Wen, but she had COVID, so she couldn't make the convention. But I pretty much feel like they would have brought her out. And then this is when they talked about Mando. They talked about season 3 a little bit. They showed some footage of it. I think a little bit more additional footage than they did on Thursday. But the big surprises that came about eventually was that they brought Rosario Dawson out. She took a break from filming, came up to hang out, and then I think the sequence that I understood it to be was that Chopper, the droid from Rebels, comes rolling out, and they basically introduce live action Sabine. Yes, we are getting live action Sabine for sure. She is going to be played by Natasha Liu Bordizzo, and she definitely looks like Sabine. I cannot wait to see her in full costume. But the cool thing is they did show a little quick kind of teaser footage of Ahsoka. They're still shooting, so it wasn't like a full teaser. It was just kind of some shots put together. There was one shot. Now I watched kind of the bootleg version of it online. Someone recorded it, and one of the shots, you definitely see a live action Hera, the back of her anyway. So we're getting pretty much going to see the Ghost Crew. I mean, Ahsoka is pretty much a Rebels continuation. I don't think there's any doubt about that now. You got Ahsoka, you got Sabine, you've got Chopper, you've got Hera, and they're going after Ezra. So, you got pretty much everybody back. So it's basically going to be Rebels. I don't know if you're calling it Rebels season 5 maybe, or if it's just the next show, but not animation. It's, live action. But yeah, obviously I'm very excited about that too. Ahsoka. It's going to be pretty interesting where Ezra is, and they got to find him now. I think the cool thing too, they showed during this panel too, was at the end of Rebels, the TV show, at the end of season 4, there's kind of a flash forward in a sense, where because Rebels relatively ends around the time of episode 4, and then there's a time jump basically through the original trilogy, so that our rebel heroes from Lothal are staying there, defending, getting ready to defend. I think they talked about, if I remember correctly, they were talking about how they were going to stay on Lothal and defend from the Empire, from the Empire coming back. Well, the Empire never comes back. And of course, they eventually get defeated after Return of the Jedi and the Battle of Jakku. So that kind of puts them out of the way, And of course, at that point, Ezra's gone. Hera, though, we do learn Hera is involved in the rebellion, so she does pop up during the original trilogy. And then, of course, you've got Zeb's kind of, I think he's back on his home planet, but you got Ahsoka definitely out there too, but she's not fighting the rebellion. So there's a scene at the end of that season where Sabine is standing in front of this mural of the Ghost Crew, and then all of a sudden she turns around and there's Ahsoka. We see her. That's the first time we see Ahsoka like older, and then they fly off, seemingly to go get Ezra. So I think they released a shot in this panel that showed Natasha as live action Sabine with short hair looking at this mural, which basically, in my mind, concludes that last scene with her and Ahsoka, getting in Ahsoka's starship and flying off, is going to be recreated in live action. That's totally where I think that's going. So that's pretty awesome. It was pretty cool to see that. So I think that'll be a cool thing to see. So that was the big reveal on the panel there. Of course, Ahsoka coming out 2023, Mando coming out 2023. So definitely getting Mando, definitely getting Ahsoka next year. And of course, it seems like we're getting maybe season 2 of Andor next year, and maybe season 3 of Bad Batch, I guess. Skeleton Crew obviously is coming out next year as well. So anyway, and then later on day 3, they had Tales of the Jedi finally announced. A lot of speculation on what that's going to be, but my initial speculation was going to be like Forces of Destiny, which is an animated, anthology show, but 2D animation basically, not 3D animation. Well, it seems like Tales of the Jedi is going to be 3D animation. So Filoni spearheading it. He said in an interview he was just on the plane writing down a bunch of storylines, and he gave them to Carrie Beck, who's one of the producers of his animated shows, and she loved them and wanted to make them. So they are short form CG 3D animated shorts. And the first couple of arcs are going to be focused on 2 characters. One, Ahsoka. The other one, Count Dooku, actually. So I believe it's going to be 3 episodes each, and it's going to basically tell their story of growing up and getting to where they're at. So pretty interesting. Like I said, Ahsoka and Count Dooku more than likely will be others, I believe. But the first 6 episodes, that's what that's going to be. So pretty cool about that. And that comes out actually this year, fall of this year. So we will be able to see that in 2022. All right, the last day, day 4, there was a Bad Batch panel. Season 2 trailer was released. Looks fantastic. Little time has passed a little bit. Omega looks a little older, has some armor now. The guys have different paint on their armor. And it looks like Crosshair is still out there after him, but he is actually teamed up now, it looks like in the trailer, with Commander Cody, who is rumored to have a pretty big role in season 2, which is pretty cool. Showed Rex coming back. Pretty awesome. So, and I imagine them having a lot more cameos in this again. Fennec possibly, but I think there's going to be more bounty hunters. So, it looks like there was a shot of the Emperor also, so he might factor in this thing too. Maybe a Vader. That would be cool. Or some Inquisitors. I don't know. It sounds like they're going to be going out there helping people, which is going to get them obviously involved in the rebellion too, probably. So anyway, Bad Batch was pretty cool. The best part about it is it was announced to come out this year. So fall 2022, it will be out, which begs to, it's kind of, I guess, how do you say it? This kind of lays out, I think, the fact that it doesn't seem like Lucasfilm is going to be worried about a live action show being out at the same time as an animated show, because it seems like Andor and Bad Batch season 2 are going to be out together because they both start in the fall. I guess it's possible that with Andor starting August 31st, meaning that I haven't done this on the calendar yet, but if it's August 31st, let's just say they come out with 2 episodes then, right? And then you've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So you would have 11, 12. So I think you have November 9th be the finale of Andor. That's Wednesdays. So technically November 9th is still fall, because winter doesn't actually start until December 20th or 21st. So you could start the Bad Batch in November and still say it's fall and have it not over crossover times with Andor. But the problem is, if you start in November, you've got to get done by February, because season 3 of Mandalorian starts in February. So I guess that's possible. They could squeeze that in there, because it's going to probably, I don't know. Bad Batch was, I believe it was 16 episodes, right? So there's a lot more weeks on that. I don't know. I think it's going to be fine. I think they're going to be fine having live action animation out at the same time. I think at some point you're gonna run into that. There's so many shows coming out for Star Wars. So I think that's what's going to happen. I think they're going to run maybe live action on Wednesdays and then put out Bad Batch and all the animated stuff maybe on Fridays. Kind of keep it separated like that. But they could put it out the same day. Never know. So that was the Bad Batch season 2 panel released in that trailer. There was a Star Wars Visions discussion too at some point that day, where they talked about Volume 2 coming out in spring of 2023. So Star Wars Visions, I wasn't so high on that. I mean, there were definitely a couple good episodes, but I'm interested to see. I'll watch it. I'll see what they're going to do Volume 2. Maybe, I don't know. It doesn't sound like they're going to be continuing any of those stories from season 1 or Volume 1. So it looks like there's going to be kind of newer stories, but we'll see what those are going to be. And then finally, at the end of Celebration, they announced next year's Celebration, which was surprising, but definitely welcomed, because I think everybody's kind of. I think they were planning on starting to do these every year, but COVID kind of put a halt to that. But next year's is not in the States. It's in Europe. It's back in London. So Celebration Europe 2023. And it's in less than a year. It's in April of next year. So those of you that were wanting to go to Celebration next year as well, you've got a shorter time span to save that money. I won't be going obviously to that one, but I will be going hopefully because it'll be back in 2024. So yes, in 2 years I'm going to be going back. Maybe do the show again from there. That was pretty cool. But this time I wasn't actually thinking if I was going to go to Celebration this year. I wasn't planning on applying to do the show. I felt like I wanted to just immerse myself in and around Celebration. I think whenever we did the show there, it kind of was a distraction in a sense because you're, thinking of what things to talk about and, what you're planning that day and that time. And then sometimes that time period is a bad part of the day and you want to be at a panel or something like that. So anyway, kind of like the idea of maybe not doing it there, except maybe doing it, at night at the hotel room to kind of, put some recap videos out there, but that's probably what I'll do. But anyway, that was a Celebration. Look, I can't say it enough. Star Wars Celebration is incredible. If you're a Star Wars fan, you've got to make it to Star Wars Celebration. And I know I've got some listeners over there in the UK, so hopefully you guys can get there next year. London, 2023. It's so worth it. I mean, just watching it, sitting here watching it for the first time and not being able to see, be there. It was hard. It was hard. Definitely. I definitely wanted to be there. And it's the best place to be around Star Wars fans that are like you. And there's no hate. There's no, it's just great. It's just great to be around, especially when you could go with your friends or family and enjoy it. I got 2 daughters. Both of them now are talking about wanting to go, so I might have to take them with me at some point, but I will gladly do that. As long as they want to be a part of Star Wars and enjoy Star Wars like me, I'll do whatever I can to keep their interest in there. So anyway, Celebration. If you haven't seen it all, it's all up online. There's a ton of videos on Star Wars' YouTube channel. You can go check that out. But I guess the quick highlights is, Andor trailer, Bad Batch trailer, Fallen Order sequel, Jedi Survivor trailer. So go see those. Okay, real quick on the publication front, just a reminder about novels. The next novel comes out this month, June 28th, which is Shadow of the Sith. Man, I got to get caught up so I can get into that. I'm actually listening to Brotherhood right now, which is fantastic. Finished Queen's Hope, into Brotherhood right now. Going to finish up Into the Dark after that. We got a couple things we'll do on that for Beyond the Saga. July 26th sees Padawan. August 16th sees the release of The Princess and the Scoundrel. And then you got the High Republic Convergence on October 4th and High Republic Path of Deceit November 1st. And remember, those are Phase 2 novels. In comics, starting June 1 today, you've got Darth Vader 23 and Bounty Hunters 23. Next week, Chrysanthemum finally gets released, number 1. Star Wars 24. June 15th, Bounty Hunters 24. June 22nd, Darth Vader 24. Crimson Reign finishes up with number 5. Obi-Wan Kenobi number 2 finally comes out. And then at the end of the month, June 29th, you got Han Solo and Chewbacca number 3 and Dr. Aphra 21. So those are your comics coming out this month so far. And I'll keep you up to date if those things change. All right, so let's get into... Actually, I got through the Celebration stuff sooner than I thought, so it won't be that long of an episode, hopefully. But let's talk about the Obi-Wan series. I could see why. I think I even mentioned this. They obviously pushed back the release of this thing. It was supposed to come out May 25th, which was a Wednesday. and the day before Celebration started, but they postponed it. They pushed it to Friday because they were doing a premiere for everyone at Celebration on Thursday night, which was awesome. And then they released it. They released the first two parts. They call them parts, part 1 and part 2. They released them early Friday morning, / Thursday night. Usually I'm on the East Coast, so usually episodes drop at midnight on the West Coast, meaning it's 3 a.m. here. Me and my daughter were definitely talking about getting up early and watching it. We end up doing that. But 5 minutes before midnight, I saw the tweet from Star Wars saying, enjoy the early release of Obi-Wan. So I did watch the first episode. I tried to wake up my daughter, but she wouldn't wake up. I watched the first episode at midnight, didn't watch the second episode, and then woke her up early that morning. I think it was 5 a.m, which was her last day of school that day. And we watched part 1 and 2 that morning. And then I watched it maybe 3 times each or something like that. And then I didn't know, maybe I just missed it. Didn't know if anybody else knew, but I didn't know that they were actually going to get released on Wednesdays. So today, I'm recording this on Wednesday night, part 3 of Obi-Wan Kenobi came out. So I've already watched part 3 times also. So, let's talk about Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'll give you my overall impressions of the first 3 episodes. This series has been my most anticipated series, I think, of the shows by far. This has been most anticipated. I could not wait to see episode 1 because of that, 18-year gap from Return of the Jedi to episode 1. But I gotta say, I was more looking forward to this, and it's just ecstatic to see this episode. So or to see this series. So this is by far my most anticipated series. I just couldn't wait for it. Ewan McGregor is killing it. But man, so anyway, again, I'm not going to spoil the story, but I am going to mention some things so if you haven't seen it, maybe might not be able to listen to this, but hopefully everybody's seen it by now. Anyway, the show stealer has been Leia, young Leia. I think her name is Vivian something Blair. Lyra, I think Vivian Lyra Blair, I think is her name. She is fantastic. Love it. Love her. Love Ewan as Obi-Wan. I think the first episode really did well in establishing, the time period and where we are, where Obi-Wan is. To believe that Obi-Wan has not used the Force or ignited his lightsaber in all this time, he's in a bad spot. He is definitely in a bad spot. But I got to start from the beginning because I've got the episodes here. I'm going to kind of breeze through them and just mention things that stood out to me. But first thing that stood out to me, to be honest, was the recap in the front of the prequels. I honestly think that this was the best thing they could have done. The best thing. Because someone and I kind of refer to someone like my wife, who likes Star Wars, doesn't love Star Wars. I even just asked her tonight, is it weird that I know all this stuff? Because when she asks me something, I immediately can answer pretty much. She's like, no, it just feels natural, which it is. Star Wars just comes really natural to me, and I retain a lot of it. It's pretty weird how much I retain of it. But man, these prequels, if you have not seen the prequels a lot, or like my wife again, that has seen images of them but doesn't know if it's from episode 1 or episode 3. But that really helped her to see that before she watched the series, because she did see young Obi-Wan. She did see young Anakin. She did see Padme. She just saw the twins getting born and stuff like that. So it does create that, backstory in the brief couple minutes that it took to do that. And it had the iconic moments that you needed to see and remember before you get into the series. So I really appreciated that. I thought that was a great idea. And not only that, but then it goes into that scene of Order 66, which, again, and then you got Jedi Velty here, which she was phenomenal. I mean, the way she moved and fought the troopers as best she could, it's fantastic. And you get the wide shot of the troopers killing all the Jedis, which we saw something like this in episode 3. But then, you skip 10 years later and you're in Tatooine and you got Inquisitors that show up. So you've got, the Grand Inquisitor, you've got Fifth Brother, and you've got Third Sister, played by Moses Ingram, who I will say right now, I'll just get this out of the way, but she's getting a lot of hate, apparently, a lot of racist comments online, and just got to say, there's no place for that. I want to say that no matter if you like her character or not, there's no reason to attack her as a person. Every one of us would kill to be in Star Wars, and it should be welcoming and appreciated. And you can like or dislike characters all you want. You can get mad at the writers for not writing a great scene or a great series, but I just believe you need to leave the actors alone and support them, because they are working. This is their job. So that's all I'll say about it. Star Wars came to the defense, and Ewan came to her defense, and it's just a good thing to see some support too. So you have 3 Inquisitors that show up: Grand Inquisitor, Fifth Brother, Third Sister. Now we know about Grand Inquisitor and we know about Fifth Brother. Both of those have been in Rebels. Now I'll talk about here in a minute whether or not this is the Grand Inquisitor, but we'll see. But they're looking for a Jedi, so pretty cool to see another Jedi on here. What Obi-Wan's, I feel like we did go back to him cutting this meat like 3 or 4 times, maybe one or 2 more times than we should have. I mean, each time it's kind of just showing his day-to-day routine, but love it when he goes out and his, of course, checking up on Luke. And then he has this run-in with, the Jedi. But then, about 25 minutes in is when we go to Alderaan. Now, this is awesome to see Alderaan in kind of a wide shot. I rewatched episode 3, and there's just the shot there real quick of, the ship approaching and landing, and then you see Bail and Lady Organa there with young baby Leia. That was like the only shot of Alderaan. We never really saw it. This is Alderaan. We're seeing Alderaan. I can't believe we're finally seeing it. It's phenomenal. It really gives you, this show is changing the original trilogy so much, in my opinion. I think it's not only obviously going to change a lot for Vader, how you kind of perceive Vader and Obi-Wan in episode 4, but now you've got Alderaan. And now when Tarkin and the Death Star are orbiting Alderaan and about to destroy it. You know now what it looks like and what kind of people live on this planet. So when Leia's pleading to Tarkin, saying, Alderaan is peaceful, we don't have any weapons. I mean, she's telling the truth, and it's tragic. Billions of people living on this peaceful planet, and it's a gorgeous looking planet. So love how they showed that, and just the intro scenes of Leia, and she has definitely stolen the series. She's been phenomenal. Of course, then there's a great scene with Owen and Obi-Wan talking about training Luke. I think that was a great thing to see there. And of course, you've got the whole setup. Now, I will say that I've always wondered when or if Leia finds out or knew she was adopted. Now, I think seeing this, it kind of clearly shows that she doesn't necessarily look like her mother or father, the Organas. She definitely has a different skin tone and stuff like that. So, I think everybody does know that she's adopted. So she knew she was adopted. I thought that was kind of interesting. I didn't know if she knew or when she found out. I think I knew she did find out. I just didn't know when. So she's known all along. Obviously, she doesn't know who her true parents are. But it's interesting that it's kind of been explored a little bit in this, which is, I'm telling you, that's, I find myself getting drawn into the Padme discussions or the memories. Like, I think that is just fantastic. At the end of this episode, part 1, Obi-Wan starts telling her that she reminds her of somebody, which he is obviously describing her mother. So there was that part, and there's another part in part 3, which I'll get to in a second. But it was just great to see. Actually, that was the end of part 2. At the end of part 1 here is just him, getting the saber and taking off and taking this job of, or this request from Bail. Now, I'd mentioned a while ago that this was the only way I felt like he could leave the planet, was to go save Leia. So it's the only storyline to me that would make sense, because he's just too risky to not stay hidden, and protect the twins. But anyway, he goes off to where she's kidnapped, which is a planet called Dayu. Of course, he goes there and rescues her. But you learn more about kind of Reva's intentions, and you kind of learn more about this gentleman. I can't remember his name. The fake Jedi. Naja, I think it might be Naja. He's helping Obi-Wan. He ends up helping Obi-Wan, but we learn more about the kidnapping, of course, and then the fact what we learned in this episode is Obi-Wan he's obviously not as strong right now. He hasn't been practicing with the Force and hasn't been communing with the Force. We know he's been doing some training because he's trying to do that connection with the cosmic Force, right? He's trying to talk to Qui-Gon, which is what Yoda tasked him with. But other than that, he obviously hasn't picked up his lightsaber in 10 years, and he hasn't used the Force really, it seems like, in about 10 years. So, anyway, surprised about the conflict between the Grand Inquisitor and third sister, which is Reva. Surprised about that. The Grand Inquisitor, I don't think he's dead. He got stabbed. I don't think he's dead because he does show up in Rebels, which takes place about 4 years from now, from this. 4 or 5. I don't see how he could be dead. So, unless there's another Grand Inquisitor that looks exactly like him, he survives and probably actually causes even a more deeper rift between him and Reva. So, Reva seems like she's trying to just impress Vader and become that Grand Inquisitor. Very similar, if you think about it. I mean, it's very similar to the Rule of Two, right? I mean, you've got a master there, and you've got an apprentice that's constantly trying to figure out ways to kill him and take over. It feels like that's what Reva's doing a little bit. She sees the Grand Inquisitor as weak and feels like she can do the role better, so she's taking him out. So, but the big thing about that episode was Obi-Wan finally discovering that Vader is alive. So that's where the big question, I think, comes in a little bit for me is it's kind of told to him through, it was basically told to him through Reva, right? Reva is having this discussion. She's basically using the Force to kind of read his mind and his feelings because she hears Obi-Wan's thoughts about not knowing when she says, Lord Vader, he realizes that, oh man, Anakin / Vader didn't die. So she tells him that he's alive. But the fact that she knows that he's Anakin was a little confusing. I'm still not sure how that works because I just don't know how she would know unless Vader tells her or somebody tells her, I guess. But I think that's got to be explained. I think that's got to be brought up over the last 3 episodes to kind of figure out how she knew or why she knew. I think there's going to be some kind of backstory with her that I just can't pinpoint right now exactly what that is. But Obi-Wan finds out about Vader for the first time here. And then in part 3, they are off to this other planet trying to find help. And of course, Vader gets wind of him and shows up there. And then he sees him for the first time. So he hears about him first. And a day or two later, he is seeing Vader for the first time in the suit. So they have a little bit of a lightsaber battle there, and Vader's just trying to punish him. I mean, he's not trying to kill him. He's trying to punish him, which is a pretty interesting take because I'm sure he's got this hatred just built up, and knowing now that Obi-Wan's alive and survived, phenomenal scenes. But again, one of my favorite parts of this third episode here is the part where they talk about Padme. I mean, I get emotional. It's weird. I feel emotional a little bit when they talk about her because, and a lot has to do with the fact that, I lost my mother at a young age. So hearing like that shot where she says, you knew my mother, didn't you? Or something like that. And man, it's a really, really cool moment between Leia and Obi-Wan there. I thought that was pretty awesome. I just love them. I loved her inquiring about that. Now, she didn't push it. It's what's great is that she didn't push it. She didn't say, who was she? I was waiting for her to say, who was she? Because that's another question mark is, okay, now she knows, now I know that she knows she's adopted. But when does when did she find out that Padme was her mother? Because I don't think by the time Return of the Jedi comes that she knows. I think she still doesn't know at that point, because first off, you feel like she would have mentioned her name to Luke, but she also just mentioned she doesn't have any memory of her, really. So, I think that she kind of wants to, or maybe she knows she can't know, or maybe the Bales told her, maybe the Organas told her that they don't know they just don't know who her parents are. So, but anyway, those are great scenes. I'm curious on how much Leia is, finds out and knows before she goes back to Alderaan. Same thing with Obi-Wan. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, he's becoming, his face got scanned, by the probe droid. So, I mean, everybody's looking for him, knows he's alive. So, pretty interesting. Some great action scenes. And then, of course, we've got this new Imperial, Tala, that's helping, former Imperial, that's helping Obi-Wan escape. She'll probably be in it the rest of the way, seems like, but lightsaber battle, Obi-Wan getting tortured, and then, of course, a big cliffhanger at the end with Leia and third sister. So, that's kind of a quick summary. Look, I'm ecstatic about these episodes, and to be honest, I'm more into this than I am Mandalorian. Just because of, I knew I'd love it because of Ewan, but man, this little Leia girl, she's been fantastic. Of course, Vader being in it is fantastic. I mean, I'm telling you, this is a story that we didn't think we needed or wanted, but man, we definitely needed it. Needed it to answer some questions, needed it to fill in the gaps. It seems like that's what Lucasfilm was doing a lot of, is filling gaps between movies. Definitely the comics have done that with 4, 5, and 6. There's definitely been comics, early on, and there's definitely been novels early on. So around the prequel era to kind of fill in those gaps. So we just haven't had this truly between episodes 3 and 4. So this is really helping out with that, I think. And again, the girl and Obi-Wan are just Vivian and Ewan, phenomenal, and Hayden too. So so excited. There's 3 more episodes left. Can't wait for those. But I'll be back each week talking about each one of those. So, all right. Thanks again for everybody watching, listening. Let me run through a couple comments real fast, if I could. There is somebody named Sithari, that's watching a bunch of the commentaries that we did, so and leaving some comments. So I've been talking back and forth with them on there. Thanks for doing that. Thanks for watching. Let's see. I want to make sure I get some of these. Let's see. Got Thrawn Addict on my last episode, 358. Oh, talking about, he says, I don't think it was a mistake recasting Solo. Alden did a great job, but was always going to be difficult filling Harrison Ford's shoes. Totally agree. Also, I don't think de-aging technology was good enough to carry the whole film in 2017/18. The season 2 Mando finale, Luke Skywalker had his problems in terms of de-aging, so can't imagine how jarring a 2-hour movie would be. Totally understand that. But it'd been nice. I would have just, I think I said it in the show, I would have just done a Disney Plus series, did a Disney Plus series with Alden as the Disney Plus Han, and of course Harrison being the movie Han. Thrawn also says, looking forward to Shadow of the Sith book. Just finished Brotherhood, and I'll say if you're a Clone Wars fan, you'll love Brotherhood. I am in the middle of Brotherhood and I love it so far. Let's see. Let's see. JoJo mentioned on 358. Incredible how well you theorized the plot of the series, with Leia being the reason for Obi-Wan to leave Tatooine and all. I listened to your episode of that topic again. Thank you. Yeah, I mentioned that. Yeah, I mean, it just kind of made sense. So can't take too much credit for that, because I think the storyline, what we know about Obi-Wan, kind of made sense. So, all right, and then I want to do a quick email. I got an email from VH, and they said just a couple thoughts. Number one, the scene in the Jedi Temple featuring 5 Padawans going through training exercises shortly before the horrors of Order 66 as violent chaos erupts. One of the kids facing the imminent danger was a black girl. Just wondering if perhaps that youngling was Reva, the third sister, and perhaps her animosity towards Kenobi stems from the ugly memories of that fateful day. Interesting. Number two, as the Jedi Temple scene moves forward, we see the young Padawans desperately running and fleeing the carnage taking place all around them. However, the story never allows viewers to see what ultimately happens to the kids. Perhaps they manage to escape. Perhaps they managed to escape. We don't know at this point. Maybe their harrowing story is a prelude for the recently revealed Skeleton Crew saga. Preliminary description claims that this Star Wars tale will feature 4 kids and 1 adult. If my theories are correct, this means that Reva didn't escape with the Order, with the other 4 Padawans, and was converted to the dark side, which explains how she became the third sister, and she somehow blames Obi-Wan for the direction in her life, has taken. Thanks, and may the Force be with you. Interesting. So, point 1, real fast. Could she be that black girl? It's possible. I was thinking about this, whether or not I believe that or not. I don't know. Because I tend to, I remember speculating all these things about Mando during Mandalorian. Like, is this going to happen, or is this person going to show up, and blah, blah, blah. And technically, stuff like that does happen. Luke shows up. Cad Bane has been introduced there. Well, that was Book of Boba Fett. But, I think I have a tendency of, a lot of us do, I think, we have a tendency of, mentioning things that we want to see and get excited about it. But, and I think with some of these storylines, it just gets, we get too complicated with it, in a sense. Like, for example, I think Reva, I think there's theories going out there that she's maybe one of the younglings, and I don't think this is your theory necessarily, VH, but there's a theory that she is actually part of the rebellion, and she's infiltrating the Inquisitors, which would mean she's Force sensitive, which would mean she probably was a Jedi. And then she's, trying to figure out who she can find as far as Jedi that she can recruit to help defeat Vader. Now, I think that's a pretty far-fetched, but I think that, again, that's an example of kind of, complicating the plot, whereas I think it's just a little more simpler than that, which to me just seems like it could be just simply that. She's just, craving power, and she wants to get rid of that power in order to take control, so she gets rid of what she thinks she gets rid of the Grand Inquisitor, and then she is trying to, get in good graces with Vader to become the next Grand Inquisitor. So I think right now that's just a storyline. And we'll see if that ends up being enough to kind of justify her character, but we'll see. I think it's just that simple. Now, as far as the Jedi Temple scene with the kids running away, and could they be the Skeleton Crew? I don't think that's possible. And I only say that because I believe I read that Skeleton Crew, because it's still executive produced by Favreau and Filoni, or one or the other, it's going to take place during the time of The Mandalorian and Ahsoka and Book of Boba Fett. So we're talking 5, 6 years after Return of the Jedi. So I don't think that can be about that, because those kids were during the prequels, obviously, episode 3, when they left Order 66. So I don't think that's the case, but good idea. Great idea. All right. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the questions. Really do appreciate that. Keep that coming. Be sure to check out the Mandalore podcast. Right now we are deep diving into Obi-Wan Kenobi. That comes out on Mondays. Cyber Ren over there, Martin Donison, and me, we really spend some time, sometimes a couple hours, dissecting those episodes. So we did the first 2. We'll be doing episode 3 here this weekend. So look for that over there, the Mandalore podcast. And then, of course, go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/InsideTheForce, to check out all their other shows on there. Council Sessions, Beyond the Saga, Master of the Order. I got a great interview I'm doing the next couple of days, so that'll be out. And then, of course, Dark Knowledge with Master Ku, where we dive into the dark side of the Force. So you can watch on YouTube or get on any of the podcast feeds and get those. Then, of course, patreon.com/InsideTheForce if you want to get some exclusive content, as well as early access to all of our stuff, and then some merch. About to launch some more merch here soon too, so just be on the lookout for that. Working hard on that. Got a lot going on, and I got a lot going on because of everybody that's involved in the show and listening. So again, I really appreciate it. Love to hear more from you and hear back from you. So let's keep talking, and let's keep creating stuff that you want to hear from me, and have fun enjoying Star Wars together. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your week and weekend. I'll be back next week to definitely deep dive into episode 4, or part 4 of Obi-Wan Kenobi, as well as any other new news and information that comes out. I will pass it along to you. Thanks, everybody. Always appreciate you. Take care. May the Force be with you.